Good evening, my brothers and sisters, and welcome to another episode of A Word with Pastor Webb. I'm your host, Pastor Webb, and we have a very special guest this evening. We have the Honorable Judge Dana Whitemore. Please help me to salute and celebrate my friend, Dana Moore.
Thank you.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Great. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure.
How was the drive?
It was not bad. I had to explain to my husband that we had to get here extremely early because I wanted to be right on time so we could get started.
I appreciate that. I appreciate
Yes.
that. Well, we're not going to prolong the time. What's your story? Tell me, how did you grow up?
Okay. Well, believe it or not, I am not a Floridian.
Okay.
It's probably hard to find a true Floridian, but I'm originally from Denver, Colorado. I was born and raised in Denver, Colorado, but born in Colorado Springs.
Okay, okay.
So my parents met in high school,
Okay,
married very young, had 4 children. I'm the baby.
okay,
And we were raised in Colorado. My parents stayed married for about 15 years,
Okay.
and then separated, divorced.
Okay.
And then I was raised by a single mom for several years until my mom remarried,
okay,
and met my dad,
Okay, okay.
my stepdad, who
Okay.
I refer to as my dad. And we lived in Colorado for several years, and then my dad is a soil scientist. So he was, my stepdad, he's a soil scientist, and then we were relocated to Virginia, and that's pretty much
Now,
how we grew up.
What was a soil scientist?
A soil scientist, so he studies soil
Okay.
and farming and the effects of soil, the acidity, and just forestry. So that's
Okay.
his
So
study.
you were raised rich, poor?
Well, a mixture of both.
Okay.
So when my parents married, my biological parents
Okay.
married right out of high school.
Okay, okay.
I think my mom was 16 or 17 at the
Wow,
time,
wow.
and she was pregnant with my sister Leah.
Okay.
And I always joke, my dad put my mom on his handlebars, and they rode down to the Justice of the Peace, and then
Okay.
that's how they got married. And they were young,
Okay.
and they stayed together for 15 years, but grew apart.
Okay.
My dad kind of remained, my mom wanted a little bit more, something
Okay.
different, so
Okay.
they grew apart. My dad then relocated to Texas, and
Okay.
then we remained in Colorado.
Okay.
So having 4 children and being the sole provider,
Wow.
we lived pretty meagerly. But believe it or not, I never knew that we were
Wow.
poor.
Right,
but
right.
at the time, so we lived in what is called, what we would call today a HUD home, assisted, subsidized family.
Right.
So, but I had like I said, I was the fourth, the youngest, and had a pretty good upbringing.
Okay.
When my mom remarried, my dad, of course, he was a soil scientist, had a little bit more as relates to income.
Okay.
So we relocated from the as you would say, the hood area,
hood.
yeah, the hood, and we went into suburbia.
Okay.
And I think at that point I was maybe in the 8th grade, 9th
Okay,
grade.
okay.
And we relocated from Denver to Aurora, which
Okay.
would be like a move from Winter Haven to Lakeland.
Okay. Okay.
And but more suburbia.
Okay.
And so that's where I had my teenage years.
Okay. Okay.
At that time, my brother had moved out. My brother had my oldest. Like I said, a member of 4 siblings.
Right.
My sister is the oldest. Her name's Leah. My brother Alvis, and then Eric, and then myself.
Okay.
At that time, my sister was out of the home because she was older. She's 6 years older than me, and my brother and sister, the oldest ones, are 9 months apart.
Wow. Wow.
So then my brother Alvis relocated he went to Drake,
Okay.
which is in Iowa, I believe,
Right.
or Drake University. And then he soon went into the military.
Perfect.
And so at that time, it was just my brother Eric and I, and we went, that's pretty much on how we grew up. Then eventually, of course, met my husband, we got married pretty young also.
Okay.
And then I did some additional growing up with him. So him and I, we had spent majority of our teenage years, our young years together. We've been married for many, many years. 30 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Awesome.
Yes.
Well, give me 3 words that best describe who you are and why.
I think I would say committed.
Okay.
And I would say committed to God,
Okay.
committed to family,
Uh-huh.
committed to work, and committed to community.
All right.
In that order.
In order. Okay.
Okay. And then I would say very loyal,
Okay.
sometimes loyal to a fault,
Okay.
and compassionate.
Compassionate.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. Also committed, loyal, and compassionate.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Now, what are some of your hobbies? What you do for fun?
Well,
I know you're a big time judge. And,
yeah.
So,
I right now I'm actually in the process of writing a children's book.
oh,
Yeah, so I'm doing a little bit of research
Okay.
and reading a lot of children's books right now,
Okay.
trying to figure
Okay.
out the path. I craft.
Okay.
I craft. It kind of takes away it takes you away for an hour or so.
Okay.
And so I do a lot of crafting. I'm looking into Jello art.
Jello art.
Jello art, yeah. So it's this process where you take Jello and build flowers by
Oh, okay.
adding color inside of and it's all edible. It's very elegant and very beautiful. So I'm working on that.
Okay. Now, share your journey as you became a judge.
Okay, so of course every judge has to be. This is basic, but just to because some people may not know
Right.
this, but every judge, of course, has to be an attorney.
Right.
So you go through law school. After you complete law school, you have to practice for at least 5 years in
Okay.
order to even apply to become a judge.
Okay.
There's 2 routes to become a judge. One is you can get appointed by the governor.
Okay.
You put in an application, they review your application, send your name up to the governor. The governor does interviews and then makes his choice as who he will appoint.
Okay.
The other process is through election.
Okay.
So I chose the election.
Right.
And how that came about, believe it or not, is that always in the back of my mind, I thought, maybe one day I would become a judge. So I practice in I own my own probate firm, so I
Okay.
practice law and own my own probate firm for about 15 years.
And when you say probate firm, it's
Probate firm. So probate is a type of law which you do estate planning,
Okay.
legacy planning, wills, estate, probate, trust, and those types of things. So I did that for many years, and also did family law practice, guardianship, guardian ad litem, help with children.
Okay.
But one day I got a letter in the mail regarding another candidate, and that candidate was sending out solicitation to other attorneys saying, "Hey, I'm going to run." So it hit me. And I say, God, talk to me.
Right.
But I said, I'm going to run too. So I took, believe it or not, and this is a little quirky, but I took the paper home, put it underneath my pillow, and asked God, lead my steps. Tell me if this is where I should go. I also sent it to a dear friend of mine,
Right.
Saritha Tinsley.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, she's a great mentor, Saritha has the gift. Her
Right.
superpower
Right.
is telling you like it is.
Yeah, right.
So
Right.
she will tell you, in a loving, understanding
Right.
way. She has the ability to understand when it's your time and your powers and your ability, and so I trust in her. So
Right.
I gave it to her, put it underneath my pillow, and everything aligned.
Okay.
So I decided to run.
Okay. Okay.
Now, my husband traveled a lot, and he came home, and he claims I just told him I'm running for judge the moment he stepped through the door. But I'm pretty sure we had a conversation about it. It just
Right.
wasn't that way.
Right.
And so we discussed it, and then, of course, I talked to my family,
Right.
and we started running.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So you went to law school where?
Thomas Cooley in Michigan.
In Michigan. Wow.
Yes, in
So
Michigan. My
so-
husband had just recently separated from the military.
Okay. Okay.
And we were in Fort Benning, Georgia.
Okay. Okay.
And we went out to Kentucky Fried Chicken. And I said, I had completed my undergrad and had been applying to law schools.
Okay.
And Thomas Cooley was one of the schools that accepted me. And also at the time, I had 2 children, a mother of 2 children.
Right.
And I needed a night program
Okay.
because I needed to be there attentive because my youngest was in 1st grade or 2nd grade. And I needed to also provide their needs and go to school in the evening. So Thomas Cooley was one of the schools that offered that program. So we agreed that we would move from Columbus, Georgia to Michigan
Wow.
to attend law school.
Okay. Okay. Now, looking at your resume, you are the 10th Judicial Circuit Court judge.
Mm-hmm.
What is the role of a circuit court judge?
Well, the 10th Judicial Circuit consists of Highlands, Hardy, and Polk.
Okay.
So you are a judge in all of those circuits.
Okay.
So basically what a circuit court judge does is in the 10th Judicial Circuit, we rotate. So one time you might be a family law judge handling divorces, child custody,
Right.
those types of matters, injunctions, domestic violence.
Okay.
One term, in a term generally lasts 2 years.
Okay.
You may be doing civil,
Okay.
civil law, which includes pretty much everything with the exception of probate and.
Right.
But there is a jurisdictional limit, so the jurisdiction is based upon monetary.
Okay.
So it's the higher dollars.
Okay.
And the more complicated issues.
Wow.
And so you would be doing that. Also criminal, which would be felony. Misdemeanor is a different court, that's
Right.
county court. So you would either spend a term doing felony, death penalty, anything that includes
Wow.
jail time over a year.
Okay.
And then, of course, you have a probate judge who would do probate, wills, estates, and
Okay.
guardianship. And so that pretty much encompasses, oh, and of course, I'm sorry, juvenile. We have
Okay.
juvenile judges who handle juvenile delinquency and then juvenile dependency, a
Right.
dependency type of action, family law.
All right. And I got to ask you this question.
Yeah.
To be a judge, how did that make you feel? Do you feel you have power?
I don't think it's about power. It's really about helping and solving problems and resolving issues.
Okay.
So I think you tend to get yourself in a little bit of trouble
Okay.
if you go in on power.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
because you have to understand that you're dealing with human beings,
Amen.
and
Amen.
it's something that you do on a daily basis.
Okay.
But it's maybe their first experience,
Right.
or they're not. This is not something that they do, and this particular issue is all encompassing of their life. So you have to understand that and deal with it, and you don't want to go in there with power.
Power. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So.
But sometimes you have to
Yeah,
go
of
in with
course,
power.
you gotta have power. Yeah.
Sometimes when the situation becomes unruly, or you have to, but there's quiet power too,
Yeah,
right?
quiet. Okay. Now, what advice would you give to a young boy or girl who wants to be a judge one day?
Well, I think the most important advice that I would give is to be very careful with their reputation.
Okay.
Because
Early on.
Yes. It's easy to fracture and hard to repair.
Wow.
So I think that and make sure that you understand that your decisions today affect your tomorrows.
Wow.
And so I would just make sure that they understood, and to do a lot of reading.
Right.
Yeah, and undergrad, probably your best bet would be to do English as opposed to any other form, because you do a lot of reading and comprehension and understanding and writing.
Okay. Now, what are some of the misconceptions of your profession?
You know, I think the misconceptions of being a judge is that people don't realize how that judges are human,
Right.
and that we really try and get it right.
Right.
Right. We it's not like we intentionally go in to harm, or to make someone's life difficult. We work hard at serving the community and getting it right.
Okay. Okay. Now, what are some of the challenges?
You know, some of the challenges that I've had that I didn't anticipate is probably personal security.
Oh.
I hadn't really thought about that going in, and it was kind of an eye-opener, because you have to keep in mind that 50% of the people leave the courthouse not happy.
Oh.
Right?
Wow.
You have to think about that, because either you have a winner and a loser.
Right. Right.
And so 50% are
Right.
not happy with this with the situation. And so I didn't really fully comprehend the personal security. And I've had to adjust my life and change certain things that I just didn't, I really didn't contemplate when going in.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
But
wow.
not to say that I wouldn't do it again.
Yeah.
It's not so negative that it's something that I would not do again.
Okay. Now, if you had one wish, what would that be? Just one wish.
So I'm a lawyer.
Okay.
So who would be granting this wish? Would it be God, or would it be a human?
You.
Okay. So I would be requesting the wish from God?
From God.
Okay. I would ask, that my grandparents on all sides, my dad's grandparents,
Okay.
my mom's grandparents, would be able to come back and spend a Thanksgiving with my family.
Oh, wow.
Because I didn't know my grandmother when she passed as an adult. I knew her as a child. And there's so many questions that I would like to ask her. And so I would like for that, my dad's parents, everyone to come together and have a Thanksgiving.
Oh, that's
that,
beautiful. That's beautiful. Now, what is the one thing that some may know that others may not know about you?
I have a wicked sense of humor.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I probably that, and I'm very artistic and crafty.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So you can draw and all.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And paint.
And paint. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You said Jello.
Yeah, Jello art, sugar art.
Now, what are some of the early mistakes you made in life that you had to overcome?
So, I think what I would say is that early on in the beginning of college career,
Right.
when you get to college, there's a credit card company everywhere you go,
Whoa.
right?
Yes.
And
yes.
get this free gift
Right.
for this credit card, and
Right.
you have fresh, new, clean credit.
Right.
And not that I misabuse my credit, but I just would have liked to have better understood the
Right.
credit going in,
Right.
right? Because you buy this cup and you pay $5 for it, but
Right.
a credit card, you're paying $50 for the cup.
Right.
And so I
right.
just, and when you're young, you don't understand how important credit is and how it affects you in the future.
Okay.
And so I think that would be probably one of the things that I would do. And believe it or not, I also would probably prepare my children for college
Right.
and the professional. I was clear to my children, you will go on to professional school. But I don't think I was clear enough and gave and explained the path on how you get there.
How you get there, right?
Right? And how it's so, and I would think I would be more of a helicopter mom
Right.
when it kind came to studying and
Right.
studying habits and learning how to get involved in professional associations
Right.
and learning how to negotiate and learning how to do all of the things that goes along with that. I think I kind of neglected that. And again, maybe not knowing, but now that I know, I probably would have done that a little bit better.
All right, okay. What has been your biggest loss or biggest fear?
I think they're combined, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think your fear is of loss, right?
Oh, okay.
So my biggest fear would be a loss of the things that, loss of loved ones.
Okay.
Loss of employment,
Okay.
loss of not necessarily monetary things, but loss of friendship.
Friendship, okay.
Fear of hurting individuals, and which would result in loss. So I think it's that, but I try not to deal in that, because I'm very spiritual, and I know that God will.
Amen.
Lead my path.
Amen.
So I try not to kind of, because I personally think that that's kind of the devil kind of getting you off track.
Right.
And I'm trying to stay on track. So
Amen.
I kind of tend to try not to really delve into that, because I know that
it's God's hand.
it's in God's hands.
Amen. Mm-hmm. Now, what are you most proud of?
My children.
Your children, okay.
And my marriage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
I think that we have our family unit as a whole. I think throughout the years we've developed a not to brag, but my boys are really good men.
Good man, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Now, if your husband was on this show today, how would he describe you? If your husband was on this show, he's not here, but if he was on this show,
I think he would probably describe me like we stated earlier. That I think he would say I would be dedicated.
Okay.
I would hope that he would say I was a good mom and a good wife.
Okay.
But I think he would probably say, which he says often, is that I'm kind.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
how sweet,
Yeah.
sweet. Now, what keeps you up at night? You'll be a judge. What keeps you up at night?
Again, I try not to worry.
Okay.
Because again, I believe that God has, so I tend to let God take care of it.
Amen.
But I would say I worry about, of course, my children and the path, to make sure that they're on the right path and that I'm doing everything that I can do. But I think I would worry about not dumping what God has given to me.
Amen.
Right?
Amen.
So I think that God gives you gifts, and it's your responsibility to dump all of that into your children so that they can take that and learn throughout their lifetime, and then dump that into their children.
Amen.
So that it continues to the important things in life, and all of the valuable lessons and the knowledge is not lost.
Okay.
So.
Well, I haven't watched Judge Judicial. I've watched Judge Mathis' show. You're a judge. Do you have plans to have your own show one day?
No, that would be nice monetarily. Yeah, monetarily that would be nice. But I've never really considered that or thought about that.
Okay.
And one of the reasons why is that you would then lose your ability to help.
Okay.
Because those shows are staffed and
Right.
and of course they're for TV purposes.
Right.
The ability to be a judge and to make decisions and help is a blessing on itself. So I don't think I would want to give that up.
Right. So when now you're a judge, so when you're out in public, shopping at Publix or Walmart, Target, whatever, and you see folks pass by, do they address you as Dana, or do they say, "Hey, Judge"? What?
it's recommended that you just say, "Hey, Dana."
Okay.
And the reason why is because going back to that security issue that we had discussed earlier.
Right.
So you don't want everyone
Right.
to know that,
Right.
yeah. So the goal is to just say, "Hey, Dana,"
hey,
yeah.
okay, how you
And I
doing?
prefer, "Hey, Dana,"
you
yeah,
doing? Okay,
yeah. Because ultimately, I'm just Dana.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, if you could trade places with one person, who would that be, and why?
Okay. So if I could trade places, I would trade places with my mom.
Okay.
When probably when she was about maybe 40,
Okay.
because I would do a couple of things. One, I would have I would sit myself down
Okay.
and I would have a good conversation with myself.
Right.
And I would tell myself the things that I know now that would help me
Okay.
going, things such as, help with the children and all of those things. I would reassure myself that I have made a good choice as it relates to my husband.
Okay.
So I would just, make, because I would choose my mom because I would be receptive to the information. Anyone else, I may not be completely receptive to the information. And then I would also write her a note to tell her to do things such as, take care of yourself,
Right.
take your vitamins, and things that would be helpful to her and my siblings and our family as a whole.
Okay.
Now, I really thought about that question because I thought, well, because the original response would be someone like maybe the president or something like that.
Right.
But then I thought, well, if I was to choose, just my luck, if I was to choose the president, it would have been like yesterday when the Taliban took over.
Right.
Yeah, and then I would have to make all these important decisions.
Wow.
And I would, that's no fun. So that's why I chose that situation.
Okay. Now, how has God played a role in your success?
Without God, there would be no success.
Okay.
Yeah, He's played the ultimate role.
Okay.
I believe that God has absolutely led my path. I wouldn't be where I am today.
Okay.
And my mom has 4 children, and people, they're all, pretty. They're pretty successful as it relates to what people deem as success.
Okay.
And when people ask her how did that happen, her response is that God raised her children.
Amen.
And so,
Amen.
I've been raised by God.
I love it. Okay, as we bring this to a close, any closing words you would like to leave with my listening audience?
Well, no, I'd like to thank you, and I appreciate you taking the time to have me here. It's been my pleasure meeting and talking with you, so thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Last but not least, what is the best talk show in the land?
A Word with Pastor Webb.
Thank you so much, Judge.
You're welcome.
And to my listening audience, may God bless you real good.